the next thing I want to touch on is Black women in the workplace. How do we protect each other in the workplace? Now, one thing I've seen countless of times is us being, and I've experienced it myself too, us being afraid to speak up because we don't want to be the angry Black woman. And you can know things like the back of your hand, especially like, just say you're in the, the legal field, or like your attorney, or you're in the medical field, things like that. I've seen some amazing nurses. I've seen some amazing doctors, but being that they're female, they may not show you all of what they know. You know, they can, if things on paper, you can see it, but they may not speak up because they don't want to be, you know, too dominant. They don't want to step on any toes, because we still have this society where it's not okay for, number one, you're a female. Number two, you're Black. You know, there's an issue with that. You're not supposed to, you know, speak up in these meetings. You're not supposed to know all of this stuff. And even if you do, just do it. You don't have to speak on it. And if you have an issue, you don't want to be known as the angry Black woman for speaking, because I don't care what tone you use. You could be smiling, you could be happy, and, well, hey, I don't really like that, but could you just do this? And then she just had such an attitude. It doesn't really matter what you do. So I think I will say, as far as like protecting yourself in a work environment, especially being a Black woman, is same thing that your counterparts do, paper trails. I think to this day, especially with this job that I have now, the only reason I've never been written up, because you can go back to whatever email I sent you. I do my work. I give you 1,000% when I'm there. Like, I got people mad at me because I didn't take certain positions, but that's not for me, because I feel like if I have to be dumbed down in a situation, then I don't want to work for you, because I feel like you don't respect me. And I'm not going to make you look good or make you money. I got other stuff that I could be doing outside of this place, you know, other, you know, avenues, you know, to make, you know, income outside of here. So why would I spend it trying to help you? So, because I know with some of us own our own businesses and stuff, but we've worked in corporate America before. I want to ask you, Draper, first, like, have you experienced where you've seen this happen to a Black woman, and then what are some things that you could do or suggest for that person? Because it's a work environment, you know, you can't speak for them or speak up for them, but what would you do in that moment? What not what Jesus would do, but what would Draper do?
I have seen a couple of instances that that a Black woman was kind of being disrespected. It was that passive aggressiveness, you know, type thing. It was, you know, she kept giving ideas, and it was like he just kept shooting them down. You know, she was giving ideas, and he just kept shooting them down. And I took an observation. I was like, man, he's just shooting her. You know, just shooting her ideas down. It was nobody else's ideas that were being shot down. But it was a young Black woman, and she was smart as a whip. I mean, she had just graduated college, you know, and she was smart as a whip. Her ideas were brilliant. At least to me, they were. You know, and it wasn't me being biased. It's just what we were dealing with at the time. Those ideas were brilliant, you know, and I felt like if they would have been implemented, it probably could have helped everything go smoother. Well, so after it was over, I think what I did was, I think more men should do. I actually really stepped out, and I had a discussion with the head guy, you know, separately, just away from everybody, just like, man, you know, what was wrong with any of her ideas that, you know, that she was giving you? You know, just from my observation, what I saw was you were agreeing with everyone else's ideas, but when it came to her ideas, you were kind of pushing them to the side. He said, well, I just didn't think that they fit. I said, I have to disagree with you, because 2 people down from her said something very similar, and you were all in agreement with it. So, you know, what is the real difference? And so he kept going around the bush. And so I understood exactly what it was. And so I actually went down to her cubicle and talked to her. I said, hey, look, I saw what happened. I understood what was going on. And I just kind of gave her some encouragement of, you know, don't stop doing what you're doing. Keep giving those ideas, keep saying stuff in the meetings. I said, eventually, I won't be the only one that's going to take notice of it. Somebody else is going to see, and somebody else is going to say something. Or somebody else is going to say something, say it's your idea, and now all the focus is back on you. And so I think if more men would step up, if they see something happening like that, step up and say something. The current field I'm in, when I'm on a set, and I've seen, a black woman give great ideas, man. And I've seen, a black woman after like an intimate scene or whatever, she's trying to get covered up and it's men gawking at her. And I'm real particular about that. Anytime I do a scene like that, man, I turn away. I turn away after the scene is over. I turn away, and I'm like, y'all, why y'all let her get comfortable, And so I think that if more men would step up, if you see something happening, don't be afraid to step up and say something. I mean, it's right. And I truly believe that right is rewarded. And so if you continue to keep doing right, putting out that right energy, and people are going to take notice of it, and you're going to be rewarded down the line. But you also have to be bold enough to go ahead and make that step to protect black women, because y'all are overlooked in a lot of situations, in a lot of scenarios, in a lot of places that, that I can honestly say that y'all would probably be better at it than a man would be, just the way that y'all think about it, maneuver and stuff like that, your calmness and all that stuff, and I think that's not an ego. It shouldn't be an ego thing with a man. That's the best person for the job. So I think every man needs to have, or anybody, just have that boldness about them to be able to step up, say something if you see something like that going on.
Yeah, you definitely need to, I would at least bring light to it. And I'm not saying scrutinize it or point it out again. Everything is in the delivery, because when people are put on the spot and it's like, then they can't explain it, then they have to look at themselves and be like, well, either they're going to say, well, dang, I unconsciously did that because I'm used to doing it, or shoot, now they see that I'm doing it, I might have to stop and just let, some of her ideas or whatever go through, sometimes you have to just point it out, that you recognize it. And, it is what it is. The chips don't fall where they may, because I've been in situations where I know for a fact that it's just me. It's just the color of my skin, and especially working face to face, like in a physician's office. I've had the first doctor I worked for was Asian, and he literally taught me a lot of the stuff that I knew coming out of school, like how to draw blood, how to work like EKG machines, stress test machines, like breathing tests and things like that. Everything that I could carry with me to so many different fields that he taught me in that office. But it was like an old folks home that they used to go to, and a lot of the people couldn't speak English. So there was a Korean lady, and everybody tried to draw blood. They couldn't do it. The doctor tried to draw blood. He was like, Shalisa, come over here real quick. She folded her hands. She said, she's not gonna touch me. And I said, well, I mean, probably because everybody poked her. So he, talked to her, in Chinese, and he was like, you need to go ahead and let her draw your blood. And then she said, no, she's not. Of course, like, I'm the only Black female in the whole office. So he was like, he said something to her in Chinese, and he just threw his hands up, and he was just like, you gonna get it done or not, And come to find out, the front desk lady told me, she said, you either gonna let her draw your blood or just don't come back, because nobody can do it. And she finally puts her arm out, and I'm like, oh, do real quick, got her blood, and her eyes got so big because she was like, she always has issues with people drawing her blood. So come to find out, like, I'm like to work one day, I'm like, he called me. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to get fired. Because he's one of the people, you got to be early to be on time. Like, he say 8:30, you better be there at 8. I was like, it's like 8:25. I'm hauling ass trying to get there. And I was like, yes. He said, you got somebody up here waiting on you. I was like, is it the police? I was like, what you talking about, somebody waiting on me? But it was that same lady. I came in, she was like, hi, and I was like, hey, like, what's wrong with you? They was like, you need to draw her blood. So every time since that day, I was the only person that she would let touch her. So sometimes you have to show people, because they have their own misconceptions and things like that. So, because you don't know what somebody's heard, especially if they're from another country, because we're, oh my God, we're probably the biggest criminals and harmful people, you know, because of what they see in the media also. So you have to be really careful. But has anybody ever, you know, gone through that experience also, Debra?
Yeah, I wanted to share too, because I used to work in big box retail before I retired, and I'm like working, thinking I'm doing good. They're like, go here, go there. I'm turning around stores. I'm coming back all, you know, like ready, like I'm about to get promoted. So it's like, okay, you have to do this. So I'm like, okay, I did this. Then it's like, okay, do this. Okay, I did that. And every time that I kept meeting the accomplishment, there was always something else. So I'm like, so my ex-husband, well, my ex-husband and her, at the time, he was like, you know what, this is just like they are like carrying you along with a carrot, like keeping you going. So I was like, what is this? So to come to find out, and this is the thing that I wanted to say about protecting each other at the workplace. There was a Black HR man, and the person that was over me, she was white, female, lesbian. So she did not like me. You know, when I'm walking in there with my coat shoes, my little cute skirts on, you know, she didn't like me. She didn't feel like, you know, because my presentation, you know, even though I was getting the results, she just thought that people were doing stuff because, you know, only the way I looked. And I'm like, what? Like, this is hard work. Big box retail is not easy. Like, you clean up stuff all day, you doing crazy stuff all day. So I'm like, okay. So the HR told me, him and I were closing one night, and he said, you know what, I want to talk to you off record. Like, this ain't work. I just want to tell you straight up, this lady is trying to fire you. And I was like, I know you lying. When I'm going, doing this, doing it. He's like, yeah, but every time she's trying to, like, you know, well, she didn't do this. Like, she wanted me to dot every I, cross every T. If I didn't have a comma, it was supposed to be a semicolon. It was like, what? Like, so the point that I'm trying to make is that to protect Black women in the workplace, one, we have to stick together. There is no, you know, when we get a seat at a table, when Shalisa, you get a seat at the table, that means I got a seat at the table. You know, Mecca, you got a seat at the table, I got a seat at the table. Same thing, Shemieka. If we have those seats at the table, we bring everybody with us. We can't just be like, oh, I'm here, I've arrived, and don't think about everybody else. This gentleman, he didn't have to tell me, hey, she's trying to do this. And then I knew, I was aware. So sticking together, not just getting your seat at the table and forgetting about everybody else. Protect us that way. When you see something, like you said earlier, Winston, say something, but then also correction. So when I am wrong, don't blast me at the meeting in front of the CEO. Hey, Queen, can I talk to you for a second? Again, Shalisa, like you said, your delivery. Hey, Queen, you didn't, you know, we got this person coming. Last time you were maybe a little boisterous, or maybe, you know, you came off too strong. Just glide with it. Read the person's, you know, body language. And that kind of thing, depending on the person, if they're receptive, they're going to take that and be like, yo, when he told me that she's trying to fire you, I'm like, I can cross every T. I can do that. You know, I can do all these things. I have been doing it. So I'm like, okay, just let me double check myself, make sure that, you know, maybe I was rushing on something, even though I accomplished the goal, but then making sure that I was. And that's the thing, that when we're in a workplace, us women, we can't just be Black excellence. Like, we have to be phenomenal. And that is hard to do. When I heard Michelle Obama, I don't know if y'all watch Becoming on Netflix, and when she said she left the White House, she said she wanted to cry. She said because after 8 years, like, it was finally over, but she said she did not cry because she didn't want people to think that she was gonna miss this. She was able to be herself. She said when she got onto Air Force One, she was able to be herself. Like, how can you not be yourself for 8 years, being perfect, on the nail? People talking about your hair, your teeth, your man. You talk about my kids, you talking about my clothes. Like, the scrutiny that she had, even though we say Michelle Obama is Black excellent, some people will be like, she's not. Because they expect us to be phenomenal. Like, we can't miss a step. We can't miss a comma in the wrong place. We can't put something in somebody else's box and you know, make a mistake. So it's hard. And to recognize that, like, yo, we're all in this together. Don't think just because you had that seat that, like, you know, you've arrived, you're just gonna forget about everything. So one, correction, and then two, you know, let's bond together. Like the whole crab and bill, all that, like, forget that. And then women can't get along. I'm gonna get along with every Black woman in my job, girl. We got what we eating for lunch, what we go, you know, you gotta leave, you gotta go get your kids. Okay, I'm gonna cover you, you know, but we gotta be like that. That's how it used to be, where, you know, people, it was that village where we took care of each other, and we've gotten far removed from that. And I think, you know, I call myself old fashioned, but then I'm also progressive, but we can't, some of the things from old fashioned, we can't let them go. Our togetherness, you know, a lot of people went to Washington this time, and a lot of people weren't able to make it. They were scared of COVID and all that. But if you think about back when it happened years ago, people got there the best way they knew how. They rode with other people. They got together. They had carpool, you know, all that. People walked. You know, people couldn't stop to use the restroom. You know what I mean? Now we stop at QT, we hop out and we keep on going. They couldn't do that back then. So I think we just take it for granted that, you know, all the privileges that we do have, but we gotta share them with each other. Like if I'm raising up, if I see somebody, if I know somebody's good for her show, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna be like, I'm keeping them for my show. Like, no, we gotta share that wealth, that knowledge. And I think that's how we can be protected.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing, because you have to have like a strong, if I see like somebody young and they're doing, you know, doing their thing and they're doing good, and if whatever I can teach them, like, you got it, you know, do this, you know, make sure you do this, make sure you leave a paper trail, make sure you get this done, because there's been so many people that helped me. Because I had a girl on my job one time, she was like, look, and our boss was Black, and she was like, she don't like you. And she don't like you because of the other girl in front of you that don't like you. And the other girl in front of you don't like you for no reason. So she said, watch yourself. So all the stuff, work that she's giving you, and she's purposely trying to bombard you, she said, email her and tell her you need her help. And she said, and ask her, you know, if she say she can't do it, then you CC, you know, a supervisor or whatever, and just say, well, you know, this is what I've allotted for this day that I can get done. You know, I'm going to need help with the rest of this. She said, just do that and be done with it. So by the time it got to the manager was like, she said, well, what's going on? So I told her what was going on. She was like, so what was wrong with you asking her for help? I said, I've had several emails asking her for help. And I said, I CC'd you on 2 of them. And she was like, hold on, let me go back. So she goes, and she was like, oh, wait a minute. And she said, wait a minute, hold on. She looked all the way down, and it's a trail of, you know, other dates or whatever. So I got a whole paper trail going on. And she was just like, oh, so the paper that she had on her desk, she tore it up. She was about to write me up because my Black supervisor told her that I wasn't doing, you know, what I was supposed to be doing. But the nice Black girl behind me gave me the 411, you know, so we have to help each other, because sometimes, especially in the work environment, these are people's livelihoods that you're playing with. You know what I'm saying? So if you know they can do better, they can do good, let's just like you said, like, we got to encourage each other. Give us, you know, like, you're going to be sitting beside me, but we going to be excellent together. You know, if you lacking, I'm going to pick up your slack or whatever if I can. If not, I'm going to show you how to do it, you know? So now the next thing, we've touched on it a lot, which is protecting Black women in relationships. But one thing I want to cover is, number one is other Black women. And that's just like you said, Debra, like, we have to stick together, because a lot of times work environments, relationships, we blame the women for so much stuff, you know, because I've been pointed out as having an attitude by a Black person, because they know that word attitude, aggression, or too forward. Those are the 3 things. They already know that our counterparts look for those words with us. So, oh, she must be Black. Oh, we don't need nobody with no attitude. So if they use those trigger words, they already know that that's it. They look out for her, you know, like, they're going to scrutinize everything that you do. But the work was so good, ain't nothing you can do about it. Like, you ain't got to keep me, but you're gonna have to have a good damn reason for letting me go. Like, when you go to your HR person, you better have it like to the T, because everybody knows. Because I think somebody came to my manager and she was just like complaining and complaining. She was like, look, you could put it, put your grievances on paper or whatever, but she said, I'm gonna tell you right now, Shalisa keeps every last email. Even if you say hi, she got it. So you better make sure that if you go after her, because she keeps a paper trail. So she said, if you go after her, you better make sure you got your ducks in a row. And I said, oh, let me go look up this stuff, because I got a folder for you. you in my special folder. So that's another thing. Like, what are instances that we as women can encourage and not, bring each other down? What are some things that we can do to encourage each other? I'm gonna start with you, Mecca.
I think basically, I mean, I think that's awesome that y'all done had those experiences on the job, because in corporate America, thank God I don't have to work in corporate America anymore. But when I did, I did not experience all this love and support from Black women and Black people and all of that. I had a Black man in the job that I was working on that literally said, when I got hired, it was only like 3 Black people in that department. And when I got hired, the Black man that had been there for 20 years, he made the comment, it's getting too dark in here. But what I would say about, and thank you I want to say thank you to Draper about, actually speaking up for that woman, and also going and speaking directly to her, because I think that's a lot of things a lot of times it don't happen. And it's a blessing that they allowed him to be able to even do that, because sometimes you're trying to help people and you can't even help them because they get in an attitude with you. But I think that the best way to be successful and for us to be protected is to make yourself an asset and not a liability in any situation. Because, and I'm not just talking about a person that can make the money for people. I'm talking about if you got energy that's not disruptive. If you come into the room, like when I worked on jobs, people would always know, people that, a lot of my friends that I worked with in corporate America, I'm pretty sure if this is posted on Facebook, they're going to be able to see, and they can testify to the fact that one thing that people said about me in the office when I worked in corporate America, a lot of my friends I met there, we still friends today. One thing they always said about me was, Mecca always got a smile on her face, and wherever Mecca is, we always know where to find Mecca in the office, because wherever she is, it's going to be laughter. Not only did I do my job, and I didn't leave my work undone to be a burden on nobody else, but I greeted everybody with a smile, and also I made my work, like, people didn't want to see me there, but that same Black man, Tony Jackson, I'll never forget him, who said, it's getting too dark up in here. Once he saw me working and he saw that me coming in and doing what it was that I was supposed to do, lighting the burden off all those other people because they were supposed to get shit done in the manner in which they hired me, because this whole organization was created for a reason. So if somebody is treating you like they can live without you, i.e. shooting down your ideas or making you feel unwelcome, they've already decided that what you bring is not more valuable than what they have to tolerate with you being around. But if you make yourself more valuable, then you make yourself a liability, because there's so many things that come into a liability. So people take love and kindness and consideration, respect for other people, that go a long way, especially in corporate America, because if anything serious ever go down here, the people that's done made multi-million investments into this organization, which makes all of the higher ups, the people we have to answer to, be able to live the life they want to live and keep their good little relationships in these different arenas. Because you see people in high places, if you ever hear talk, they jump from company to company. We be just coming into this field and they don't work for Ernest & Young, Hank Boone, they be don't work for all these kind of, because they're alumni and they group take care of each other. That's the same reason why at times you'll see people that you haven't really done nothing wrong, but you like, why is this person not on my side? Because this person is doing the things what I have seen and experienced in the Black culture is that people want to protect themselves. And if it comes down to you or them, they're not going to help you get more than they got. So sitting around waiting for another person to kumbaya, it's a beautiful thing. Think about that. But let's just be real. I mean, we're going to be dead and gone waiting for everybody to come together and try to help each other. But the way you can get everybody on your side is bring some peace and joy in their life, lift their burden a little bit, help put some money in pocket. It's hard for people to act shitty when people put money in their pocket.
Yeah, true. Gonna be a lot nicer if I get some coin. All right, Miss Shemeika.
I guess it's kind of a little bit different for me. I'm in a salon environment, so I'm typically around a lot of women forever. I did used to work at a corporate salon where it was myself and another Black girl, my friend, who actually referred me. And then I've been independent since 2006, but typically I'm in a space where I'm one of few Black people working in Flower Mound. And so I know at the first salon, it was so interesting because my best friend was the one who told me about that job. And like I said, it was just us two there, and we had an incident. A lady walked in and just saw us two in the front, everybody else in the break room, and she goes, "Oh, when did this turn into a colored salon?" You know? Oh. And so, like I said, it was just women there, but my manager came, she heard her, and I didn't know that girl could walk that fast. And she got, like, excuse me? She was like, "No, this is not how we're gonna do this. She's up to do your hair. Either you can take it or you can leave it." The woman stayed, and she actually stayed in her chair. So like it was like 4 stations on one side, on this side, and Mandy actually sat in her chair and watched while she finished that haircut to make sure the woman didn't say anything disrespectful to her. You know what I'm saying? Where I am right now, I am the only Black person, and I do miss the other girl that was there, because it was just one of those deals to where when I had downtime, I can go to her room. When she had downtime, she came to my room. It was like that, you know, that nod in the hallway, like, girl, I know. And so it's like, I've been in a salon environment, but I have heard a lot about, you know, corporate environments. But I will say one thing with me, it's like even in situations like that, I do know that if something does happen, I have people I can call, from my clients to, you know, my brother to my uncles, if stuff just goes left. But it's one of the reasons why, like, I started consulting younger entrepreneurs in the beauty space, especially women of color. That's who I market to, because I feel like a lot of times we do get overlooked in certain arenas, you know, especially when we want to go outside of what we are told we're supposed to stay in. You know, like, you have to be in this type of environment, you have to be this type of stylist. And it's like, no, you can do whatever it is you want to do. And I'm open. Like, I drop gems all the time. And I'm actually mentoring a young woman right now. Like, for me to mentor somebody and to work with them for a while, typically over 6 to 8 months, it's pricey. But she's a young Black woman who I met through a client of mine, and I want to see her succeed, and she just moved. So when she reached out to me, I just was like, we just gonna do this like you my little sister. What you need to know, call me. We go, this is the path you need to take, so that by this time next year, I need you to be telling me, Miss Shemeika, I'm making 6 figures behind a chair.
Because when I say she dropped priceless gems, my twist outs be popping.
You know, it's just like one of those deals to where I just felt like, for me, I want to see her succeed, and I know that in order for her to do that, with her coming to me, I want her to feel like she can come to me without me saying, okay, pay me for what I know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just, yeah. So that type of stuff in the salon environment. Yeah.
Now, another thing I do want to touch on, especially as far as like relationships, is your circle and checking the people around you. I've known so many people that I've called mistakenly, I would say mistakenly at the time, called friends, that were abusive to and disrespectful to females. Like, because you feel like, well, you know, that's my homeboy, you know what I'm saying? She must have stepped out of line or something like that. He ain't gonna, you know, he ain't that type of person, you know, this, that. But when I see you physically hurt a woman, and then I literally have to get in between y'all, and I don't know, I'm looking in your eyes, I see a whole different person. And I'm just like, no, I can't rock with you. Yeah. Like, I ain't talked to you in a long time. Why ain't you been around? Like, dude, you don't remember what happened that day? Like, what if that was me and somebody else? Man, you know, I got your back here, you can call me. I was like, but dog, you are the perpetrator, you know, like you're the one doing the harm. So like, what do you do in those instances? Like, and I want to know, first of all, from a male standpoint, what do you do when you see like people, like your counterparts, like your guy friends or guys that you hang around, when they are, you know, disrespectful or abusive to women?
That's something that you gotta deal with right then, you know. And And if it's to the extreme to where a scene has to be made, then, fuck it. You got to make a scene, because, that's something that if you don't stop right there, then it's going to end up being a bigger scene anyway, at the end. So it's something that you gotta deal with. And if you call yourself a true friend to a guy, or if I call myself a true friend to the dudes that are in my circle, then if I should be allowed to be able to tell you when you're wrong. And if I'm not allowed to tell you when you're wrong, then we probably shouldn't be in the same circle anyway. Because obviously I hold myself to a different standard of values and morals than you do. So therefore, man, we not one and the same. And so, and then on the flip side of that, if you get upset by me telling you that you're wrong and you're wrong, then we got another issue that we got to deal with. All right. Yeah. That's a whole ego thing. If you're wrong and you know that you're wrong, and you got somebody that's genuinely, as a man that genuinely cares for you, say that you friends, say we brothers, man, I should be able to tell you that you wrong, and you take that as, man, you right, and regardless if you embarrassed or whatever, you take it, as a man and say, man, you right, man, my bad, I was tripping, whatever. If you can't take it, then you need to look at yourself in the mirror, and you need to deal with your own ego when you get home with yourself. Yeah. So I think that when stuff like that happens, it needs to be handled, right then. Hell, I've driven over to a friend's house in the middle of the night because he called me. He was like, man, we done got into it. Man, stuff that happened. Man, I'm on the way. I'm on the way. I said, I don't want either one of y'all to put yourself in a bad position, that could hurt the both of y'all later on down the line. So I think as a guy, as a friend, it's my duty to be able to hold you accountable. And hell, I would want the same. If I do something, idiotic or stupid, I would want you to tell me. Because if we say that we're friends and brothers, then we should be able to have that type of exchange for each other.
D. Ellis?
Damn and right. Damn and right. Tell him, Draper. Hey, man. He spoke some truth. I got a partner that we know each other so well, and I would call him and say, "Hey, bro, don't you do nothing stupid." He with his girl at the time, and I said, "Don't you do nothing stupid? Don't you put your hands on that damn girl?" You know what I mean? I said, "If you got to do that, y'all don't need to be together, or you need to walk that shit off." You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking, you gotta be a cool head, man. Because more than likely, a dude is stronger than a woman anyway. So 9 times out of 10, if he hits your ass, he gonna damn near knock you out. I know I'm my woman's a fucking fighter. As small as she is, my wife is. Draper, I ain't lying. She's small, but then she'll knock your fucking head off. But I ain't gonna sit there and be like, oh, I'm gonna let her go ahead and let me go ahead and test her and see what I can do, man. She know if I'm pissed off to a certain point, or if I'm mad to a certain point, she don't mind. If once I get one of my defense mechanisms is me getting quiet. I shut up. I know if I'm getting to that point, like you were talking about earlier, I shut up, walk it off, take me a drive. You know what I mean? I'd rather do that than having folks, police coming to my house. We have a predominantly white neighborhood, so you looking for some bullshit off the rip. But guys holding each other accountable, man. First of all, I'm not gonna be around no dudes like that. If you constantly beating on or trying to beat on your woman and shit like that, man, I don't get down like that. I used to see that shit from certain guys when I was growing up. Would just put their hands on. I'm like, man, that shit is not cool. I've never wanted. I'm like, I love women. I don't want to beat your ass. I'm like, God damn, I don't want to. Because you gotta explain these goddamn bruises or why she was like Penny from Good Times in this bitch. Cause motherfuckers gonna know what happened. Like, man, you know how sister thought he been beating her motherfucking ass. It just looked like that. He been beating her ass. You know what I mean? So you gotta be mindful of that shit, man. And again, I got daughters. I got sons, and I tell my son, hey, don't you put your hands on no goddamn woman. That ain't cool. So keeping a cool head, but holding these niggas accountable, and you the circle of people, like my man Draper said, if you can't tell your dudes, hey man, don't you put your goddamn hands on that woman, we don't need to be hanging together no damn way. Because I ain't finna catch a case with your ass. You know what I mean? And more than likely, I'm not gonna let you sit there and beat on no fucking woman. I'm not gonna record nothing. Hey dog, you're the fucking wrong. I'm gonna shove the nigga off somebody. I'm like, hey man, y'all cut this. Y'all need to go y'all separate fucking ways. But you know, we grew up at a time too. A lot of us did where it was not cool, but it was you motherfuckers would see certain people getting their ass whooped and they still together. You'd be like, God damn, that Rufus and Jackie, they still together after all this bullshit. But women would fight your ass. My grandmama told me a story. She would chunk bricks at my granddad. And them motherfuckers stay together, but it's a whole different time now. You ain't got to put up with that type of shit. You got real phones now and shit. You ain't got just a home phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Need some
Big
help.
Lord, speak to me. Yeah.
Hey, he's got it when he got hit with that brick. Woo. God, no, geez.
Just keeping it 100, you know what I mean? So,
No,
you know,
but
I wouldn't want a woman to go through, you know, man or woman, because real quick, I'll let you whoever talk. My cousin, one of my favorite cousins, his wife at the time, his ex-wife, used to beat on him. And he came to his mama house a couple times. He'd come to his mama crib. She said, and his mama told him, she said, she done beat on your ass too many times. She said, next time, dear Shalisa, she said, next time she put her hands on you, you lay her ass out. Because he had been getting scratched and everything. She played, when he popped her ass, and I don't condone that shit, but if you keep hitting the motherfucker like that, like you said, Draper was saying, every dude got a breaking point. And he shouldn't have stayed with that type of abuse, but he was raised not to hit a woman. He's trying to make his marriage work because of his kids. But when a lot of folks don't believe men are being abused because, you know, it's easier for a woman to say, hey, I'm being abused and I didn't hit it. And, it could be all fucked up, but men get abused too. You know what I mean? And we'll fuck around and try to stay for the fuck of it. But as soon as we fuck around and strike back, oh, that nigga ain't shit. That's all the shit you gonna hear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he shouldn't have hit that goddamn woman, so and so and so and so, but they don't never see the whole full story, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's like one of the twisted forms of abuse, because when you sitting up there hitting on a dude and he's not hitting you back because he was raised not to hit women, or he's just being a man and not hitting you or something like that. And he knows that if he does hit you, then you the first person, oh, he abused, oh, he did this, no, he did that. That's got to be the worst mental abuse in the world. Not just physical, but mental, because he really can't do nothing. And sometimes you be in the situations, got 2 checks coming in, you really can't leave this crazy broad just right now. So you got to wait a couple of months till the lease is up at least, so ain't nobody got to. That relationship ain't no joke.
Don't be in a trailer where you got to take be on the other end of the trailer. She on the other end. Y'all got to meet up in the middle at some point.
I think
you got an upstairs, downstairs trailer.
You brought up a good point, Ellis, about men getting abused also. I mean, we're talking about the physical aspect, which that does happen, but then we got to talk about also with the feminist movement. I think that the feminist movement has sort of gotten women a little bit, posh. And it's like, sometimes our words, we are, educated and certified and different things. And our words can also be harmful also. And that's another form of abuse as well. So we got to be careful with our words, and we can't let the feminist movement just have us where we're just, I don't need a man and all this and this and that. And then you wonder why you're single or you're in bad relationships because you're not giving, you're putting those negative words out there. So your voice, your words, they have power. And in order to protect Black women in relationships, we got to protect ourselves too. We can't just be spewing that venom out thinking that somebody gonna bring us flowers. It's not gonna happen. So we gotta be mindful too of our words, because everybody, wasn't raised to respect women, and then as soon as somebody disrespects you, then that's what causes the whole back and forth. So I think we got to take some accountability also. We can put it on men, but we have to take accountability and say, hey, this is my part. I was talking to him like a dog, and you don't know, people are healing from childhood experiences. Maybe
Yeah.
their father talked to them that way, which you talked about earlier, Shalisa, with, you know, women being in the school system. I mean, we all know the school system to the prison pipeline. That is a true fact. So
Yep.
that's a main thing. We got to protect ourselves. We got to say, you know what, I'm accountable too for my actions, and I'm not gonna put that kind of stuff out there to put myself into harm's way.
Yeah. And I want to touch on that also as far as the feminist movement. I want people to understand, especially Black women, to understand the feminist movement was not to say, oh, we're independent, or I don't need a man. It was meant to say, I want my voice to be heard. I want to go into this job and make as much money for the same work that I do as you do. I want to be paid the same amount. I want to be treated as a human being, as an individual, not half of a person. Because, okay, we got rid of slavery, we got rid of segregation, but hey, you forgot about us over here. You know, the women want to be, you know, recognized too. I don't want to work 40 hours and get paid, you know, $10 less than a person because I have a vagina. Like that doesn't work like that. It does not mean that I don't want a man in my life. It does not mean that I will not be submissive. It means that I need you to hear what I'm saying and take it into accountability. It's not saying, because a lot of those women that were part of the feminist movement were married to men and were in healthy marriages. They still went home and were submissive to their husbands because they understood during this time right here, we need 2 checks. I need my check to match his check too. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that just because I'm a woman. I'm scraping and, you know, doing the same work that he's doing, and I'm making way less. Like, something is wrong here. So that was the purpose of the feminist movement. It's just for our voices to be heard, not for us to deliver, you know, negative messages to the men or to our husbands or anything like that. You always speak life into your partner. It goes both ways. I'm not going to expect you, if I just called you everything but a child of God, I'm not going to expect you to bring me flowers tomorrow. Like, for what? I'm a dirty ass nigga. You just called me a dirty ass nigga a while ago. You just told me I stink. Like, what the fuck am I bringing you flowers for? You know? And then you didn't call me a lazy bitch and all that kind of stuff because there was a cup in the sink. You know, we not fucking tonight. You know, it is what it is. So you have to speak positivity into your partner. If you don't, you know, it's a consequence to everything.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people don't, like you said, there has to be accountability. Everybody has to be accountable. I don't care if that person dogged you from 2006 to 2018. You got to take accountability for staying. Yep. So it takes 2 people, period. So yeah, a lot of that we have to take accountability. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is Black women being protected in the healthcare environment. Now, I know there's plenty of times where there's situations where, you know, especially during childbirth, a lot of our women are dying. For there to be so much technology, for there to be so much, you know, healthcare advantages, our Black women are still dying at a high rate because they're not being listened to. Mm-hmm. First Black woman was operated on with no anesthesia because there's a perception that we can take pain more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. Now, I will tell you, I gave birth with anesthesia and gave birth without anesthesia. I don't regret either one. But that second one, that basically heightened my tolerance for pain. So if you can, like they say, if you can do childbirth, you can do anything. But there were complications. If I did not have my mom in the room to advocate for me, because sometimes you're in a situation where you can't advocate for yourself. So number one, I would say have somebody advocate for you. If you're a husband and you have a wife, you got to go in there with her, you know, especially for Black women. The one thing I will say, stop walking in these doctor's offices by yourself. It's getting real out here. And you're going to have a surgery, don't go in that hospital by yourself. Let somebody know everything from A to Z what's going on. I don't care if it's your good girlfriend, you know, or whatever, like you don't want your husband to know all it's fine. Like it's been plenty of times where like I have to go and tell my mama everything that's going on. Look, I think one of them sitting over on the other side. I don't know how it happened. It's just like that. So if they do something wrong, we've had conversations to where I'm like, if something gets complicated, and if I'm brain dead, you have all authority to pull the plug. But you have to have somebody to advocate for you. You have to have those conversations. There should be no time where you are in a relationship, a committed relationship, working towards marriage, or if you're already married, that person doesn't even know your blood type. If they're not on there, if that's been your boyfriend or your husband or whatever for 3-4 years, he should be on the emergency contacts. That's how I know it's real. You can buy me a car, you can pay my rent or whatever, but if you're not on my emergency contacts, I don't like you. That's just what it is. So we have to stop laughing. But I mean that in all seriousness. So you have to have somebody there to advocate for you. So going into those situations, has anyone experienced to where they've had to either advocate for somebody or, an experience where they weren't listened to as far as their physicians? I'm going to start with Shemieka.
I've been lucky enough to where, like I said, I only have the one son, but my doctors have been Black. And even my OB, Dr. King, I love her. She's the one she's my doctor, but then she's like, nah, I got auntie hat on, little niece. Listen, this is what I'm trying to tell you. So even in the hospital room, when I was giving birth to my son, her and my mom and my ex-husband were in there. And so they was my little Charlie's Angels, and they did all the stuff. I just like lay there, get my ice, and let us do what we do, I haven't had any situations where I've had to, where I've had like bad situations with doctors like that, because like you said, take somebody with you. I take somebody with me to the dental office. Come on. Yeah. You coming in there with me just for everything, just because I know that they don't listen to us, and I don't want to experience that, because I will say something and then it'll be a whole situation, So yeah, I just, you just have to, you have to. I know for my son though, with him, I remember when he was a baby, his pediatrician, I went to this man the first time and I didn't like him. He was somebody who was on my insurance plan, and he was an Indian doctor. And from jump, just the way they treated us when we walked into the doctor's office, the lady at the front office, and then dealing with him, I was like, I was like, you're not finna see my baby. I don't like how she's talking to me. I don't like how you talking to me. So you can go ahead and charge me for this appointment, but we finna go somewhere else. And I found him another pediatrician that he's been with. Even now, my heart hurt. He can't go no more because he's 18. But it, no. But yeah, I've had.
That's another thing that it's okay to ask for somebody else. It is. I don't care what kind of insurance you have. You have an HMO, whatever, you can still change the doctor. Just make sure they know which doctor you're going to.
Yeah.
There's no reason that anytime you have a diagnosis, ask for a second opinion.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't think you're smart or anything like that, because I'm not a doctor. But if you tell me I got 6 months to live, yeah, I'm gonna have to holler at this other person down the street, because they might want to work a little harder.
Yeah.
So they might see something that you didn't, or they may have dealt with something that you haven't. So it is okay, completely okay. That's what we have to understand, because I compare it to, and I don't mean to sound offensive, but I compare this to how Black people view their pastors. They feel like they all knowing, and that's whatever they say goes, or whatever, without realizing that these people are human. They're gonna make mistakes. They're not perfect. They're there to help guide you. So if a doctor tells you, well, this is what, is going to happen, and this is what you have, like you're going to need a surgery. Okay, that's fine. Well, we can go ahead and schedule it. No, hold off on that. I'm going to get a second opinion, and then I'll come back to you. If they say the same thing, that's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with second, third, fourth opinions, especially if it's something that's going to be life-changing. Yeah. I have insurance. I have the right to do so. Even if I don't have insurance, I can still get another opinion if I'm willing to pay somebody else for it. So there's nothing, number one, that's the number one thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to stay with the same physician. I don't care if it's a family physician that's been seeing, you since you was little, has been seeing your mom and all that. It won't, because once you give me a diagnosis, it's not that I don't like it. I'm not ready to deal with it. But that's when the friendship go out the window. We're not friends no more. Let me go holler at somebody down the street. And then I'll come back to you, friend. you know, because you might be a little old, senile or something. So I'm gonna go and see, you know, whatever it is down here. So there's nothing wrong with getting those second, third, whatever opinions that you need. And another thing too is the stereotypes. I've gone into a doctor's office before because I had thyroid issues. I refused to take thyroid medication while I was pregnant with my second child. So after I had her, I think I gained more weight after I had her than I had gained when I was pregnant. So I had went and got I think the Advocare was like $300 for the whole supplement thing. And I was doing 2 a days, like 5 days a week. And everybody that was doing the Advocare, they had lost like 20 pounds in the month or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this, it's gonna be good. I lost 7.5 pounds. And it took for me to do all that to realize something is wrong. So my doctor, you know, drew my blood. He was like, oh, he says your thyroid again. And I was like, great. So I go see the lady or whatever. This is a different doctor than I had before. Again, she has my file in front of her. She basically told me to push the plate away. I said, now I came in there with all my diet plan and all that stuff. She ain't asked me nothing, what's your diet, how you eating or whatever. She just thought, you know, and she said, you might need to start eating better, you know, to help with your blood pressure, you know, and things like that. And, you know, you might want to stop eating fatty foods. And I was like, so the whole time, and like, you know, it's hard for me to just, you know, sit there. So, you know, because I'm, at this point, I'm steaming because I've never had a blood pressure issue in my life. I had been on a strict diet for that probably about 45 days, you know, just a real strict diet, like lean meats, you know, supplements, like everything. I had been eating like I was like a vegan, you know, I barely tasted real food, and you're gonna just tell me to push the plate away and I'm fat. So I said, can you look in my chart real quick? And she was like, and she looked in the chart and I said, tell me how much I weighed when I was first seen. And I was surprised myself because I had weighed 114 pounds. And sadly, I said, now tell me how much I weigh now. And then she was like, oh. And I said, so do you think that's normal or is like a drastic change? You know, because my baby's almost 1 year old, you know, so. And I said, what you didn't ask me is what I was eating. And I said, you know, I literally had a diet diary. Like I did all this work. And so I gave it to her. She was like, well, I don't understand why you're not losing any weight. Bitch. My doctor just sent over my paperwork. He said it's my thyroid. And she was like, oh, well, we'll just put you on the medication, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, what kind of medication you put me on for what, you know? At this point, I was like, I'm going, go ahead. I'm willing to take the medication. But the good thing about my doctor, he'll put me, if he has to put me like on a pain medication or something like that, he monitors it because so many people get hooked on just pain pills and stuff like that. So he monitors it to make sure I can get off, you know, without any issues. And then number two, he does it by my weight and my height because a lot of people don't understand with the medications, they have to do it by your weight and your height, not just your age. Them pharmacists can cut them pills and they will. So I was like, she was like, well, just do 25 milligrams and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm done. I said, I got to go to somebody else.
And you know
what? Yeah.
I think it's important too. Yes, if we can't have an advocate, what I do, when I moved from Georgia, I went back home after my divorce for 1 year. And so I had to get a new doctor. I didn't know people in the area and I didn't know. But when I went to a physician, I did my background information on them. Like, okay, what are their accreditations? Have they had any lawsuits, medical malpractice? Like, I need to know about you. You're going to know by height. You're going to be all in between places that everybody don't get to. So I need to know about you too. So one, doing our homework, there are too many resources now for us not to be informed. And so I was going to a physician and he prescribed me something. I'm like, what is this? But then when I was when I was sitting in the lobby, I was like, why does this word look familiar? So I was like, let me look it up. So when I'm in the lobby, I see this name of a medication. I don't know, whatever. So I'm like, But then he prescribed it to me and I'm like, for what? I didn't understand. So basically it was where a pharmaceutical rep or something like that, like he was getting money to give that to me so I can go, fill it. And when I looked at these side effects, it said that it would change your brain. It would have brain chemical imbalance and you could have suicidal thoughts.
Yep.
Hold up. I ain't never had suicidal thoughts, so why would I take this? So just doing our due diligence. Like you said, don't take these people word. I mean, we just like them, because when we're talking to them, they're typing into, it ain't Google, but whatever kind of information they saying, okay, this symptom, that symptom, this, and then they're giving us an educated guess because their experience, their knowledge, and I get that, but do not take it just at face value. If you get a second opinion, great, but go with questions. When I go to the doctor, I'm interviewing you too.
And that's another thing I want to put out there too. When you're looking,
I'm here to interview you. I'm here to interview you. You telling me to do this, why?
Yeah, but when you're looking for a doctor too, because most of my doctors, I was fortunate enough because the doctor that I still go to, I used to work for him, so I really didn't have to look. But if I'm looking for specialists and stuff like that, that's important too, especially if you have insurance. Ask them if that doctor worked in another state, because there's a thing like, like when you have your tax IDs and stuff like that, tax IDs and NPIs. I can't have the same tax ID and NPI for Texas as I do for Nebraska. So I need to know if you worked in another state. So check Texas. Oh, he's good. Doctor has 5 stars, blah, blah, blah. He in Nebraska killing folks. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he done started over a whole new life. And, I done learned my lesson. Let me go to Texas and go and practice over here. So somebody was willing to give him a license over here. So he's good.
And that's what it is.
If they were in other states.
That's what it is. It's repetition, doing it, day in and day out. So there's just like with law, we can say the same thing about somebody that's practicing law. That's what they're doing. It's a continuous thing and they're going to make mistakes, but you got to go in there ready to, be informed. That's my thing. If you want to protect yourself, be informed, because it's too many resources not to know what's going on, not to know about different medicine. We've all heard the word gabapentin. We all heard of opiates, opioids. We've heard all these words and we sort of know what they mean. So look these words up when people are prescribing you something.
Yeah. And that's the main thing too. Don't be afraid to ask what they're giving you, especially if you're if you going into surgery, anesthesia. Don't be afraid to ask them what they're giving you. I'm like, what do you give me? What's that for? Okay. What's going to have any side effects as right now? Because most of the stuff that they give you, they'll give it through an IV and it'll run out of your system. Some of that stuff stays. Drugs are drugs. So, I don't understand some of the doctor's thought process in it. I understand it'll help me for right now, but I've had one of my friends had, I think she had allergy injections, and now they're causing glaucoma years later because that's a side effect. But again, they're not telling you this stuff up front. They give you one medication and it causes these side effects and you have to take another. So it's nothing wrong with, hey, can you measure this, by my weight and my height? That's what they go to school for. They can do it.
Yeah, and this is probably a whole nother podcast, but talking about big pharma, like you said, one side effect leads to another side effect. So if you look at these commercials when they say, okay, guys, y'all got ED, y'all want to get it on, but y'all gonna have headache, nausea, diarrhea, you're gonna have erection for 4 or 5 hours. So
somebody might need that.
What you gonna do? You know what I mean? So
what's the name of that medication?
For the guys.
You made an interesting point though when you talked about that, when you said earlier, about the hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying about the medications and the people that are doing the promotions. That's exactly what they do. They send it, next time you go to the doctor, just look around the doctor's office, look at every notepad, look at every pen, at every clock on the wall. It's all a pharmaceutical company. And whenever there's a new drug that's coming out, they have the pretty little girls that come around, bring all the marketing stuff. But we see the pens and the card, the little thing they write your appointment on. All of that stuff is being sponsored by the big pharmaceutical companies. So when they introduce a new medicine, they say, okay, doctor, write so many prescriptions, because they only 1 year before the patent is released that medication, and then it could be turned to generic. So all new medication is supposed to be, make all things right and new, because they know that they have created a microwave society where everybody wants something quick, because everything that a pill do for you, you can do naturally if you're willing to put the work in. But they know people want a quick fix, so they're going to keep on creating it, because like I said, it's a numbers game. At the end of the year, once a particular doctor done wrote many of these prescriptions on this new medication, then the pharmaceutical companies send them a big bonus check at the end of the year. So they are depending on those bonuses just like we depend on our bonuses. What we got to do is understand that it's a numbers game, that also, like you said, Shalisa, any doctor that is worth their salt or that is confident in their diagnosis, they're going to encourage a second opinion, especially if it's something that's serious, because a second opinion ain't going to do nothing but validate them. And as far as them being able for you to come back and say and do what we doing right now, share with other people that this particular doctor did X, Y, Z. And another thing, like you were speaking about the lady who was Asian, Shalise, earlier when you said the Asian lady didn't want to let you draw her blood and stuff. And then after you did it and you got it done, now she don't want anybody but you. That's what I'm talking about when I say about making ourselves some value, not an asset and not a liability. Because a lot of these, and that's another people don't understand and really think about, a lot of these doctors are foreign. They're from a foreign country. Majority of the doctors we have now are from a foreign country. And even though they're supposed to be just trying to make sure we get well, okay, that's the oath that they took to make sure they save our life. And they have adapted, and they actually came to this country because of the money that's here. So, and they know that a lot of times people just come out and got a doctor, but they already got a perceived notion, not just even about Black people, about Americans, period. When you hear them talking about in movies and stuff like that, and you hear about them saying that Americans are stupid and money's stupid and all that kind of stuff. I had a 3-year-old lady, one of my classes, I'm taking her to the doctor. I'm trying to figure out, at first I wanted to be respectful and not say anything, but I done tapped into the fact that this man done set up his doctor's office right in the middle of Highland Park, and he making a mint off of these people just because they don't want to speak up. A lot of things he was telling her at 83 years old didn't make sense to an 83-year-old. I asked about it, this Indian doctor who was supposed to be a cardiologist, I'm like, why are you monitoring her heart and keep on with all this stuff? Because she's saying she's healthy and all of her vitals are always coming perfect. All of her breathing, her cholesterol, her everything is normal. You do an EKG, come back good. So why are you digging for something? Because at 83, she's not going to be able to do anything about it if you do find something. So why not leave her at her peace? But he didn't want to hear that, because money could take her to the doctor every 3 months, and he collected money off of her. She just writing a check. We lead a doctor with a perfect report of health, and then all of a sudden CVS calling her that the doctor's office done called in prescriptions, and they making money off of people because people don't want to ask questions. They've tapped into the fact that we're going to believe whatever they say and not question anything for peace sake or whatever sake. And they capitalizing off it, as most people do. It's all about the money. It's more, sometimes people want to do the right thing, but sometimes they done painted themselves in a corner. They kids, you know what I'm saying? Just like we see in criminals, what they say when the kid get in trouble, the mob usually be, suspicious of this person, or the cartel be suspicious of this person because this person might do something to get their kid out of trouble. Well, that happens on the corporate side, on the retail side, on all the sides. At the end of the day, people that are in business going to be looking, first of all, what's best for them. And they got a kid somewhere in trouble. So they need to have these many surgeries this year to be able to cover this big old attorney bill for this situation they son then got in. And you also that a lot of these degrees done been bought. A lot of these people are getting money from you to buy their son a degree. We hear about these professors, but we don't talk about it enough because we wait for the media to tell us what to be concerned about. But a big deal in the way we have a lot of outcomes in the judicial system, in the medical system, and the education system, that a lot of these degrees been bought. These people paid big money, these millionaires and people got money and they got friends, these education and alumni, all that kind of stuff. These people that's making these big contributions and donations, these universities, you know, their son, Tim, just passing with a medical degree, not because he's smart enough to be a doctor. So we have to make we by being able to ask those questions if it don't make sense and be quick and concerned, playing Russian roulette with our life, being concerned about somebody's feelings. You know, because a lot of people capitalize on the fact that you don't say nothing. And as long as you keep on paying them or allowing them to say, when that extension of benefit come through the bill, check it and make sure that the last time they ran this test, they charged the same to your insurance company, as because at the end of the day, we are talking about how we paying $400 and $500 a paycheck just to cover us and our children in insurance. And a big part of that is because the insurance company is going to come back and get the money from us, because now they're charging $300 just for an office visit, but they're billing it to the insurance company, but we're only thinking about that we only had to pay a copay. But that EOB that we never just in the trash, it's not a bill. You know, they said that this is not a bill, but sending it because the law, they need to tell you what's being charged. It's us that chunk it in the trash and don't look at it and pick up and say, Dr. So why was it $190 when I went for this last annual exam and now it's $350? Why are you charging my insurance company $150 now when it was $190 last time? But people get too busy to look at, and then we complain about the results. But these doctors, they're not all they cracked up to. This on us. Check energy to know bodies and to do the work to keep our own healthy. Because as long as we waiting for a pill to fix our problems, they're going to keep on creating pills.
True. All right. Now for my last part, because I want the male opinion. Now you guys, for first DL, it's like, what are you doing as far as like your wife and your daughters as for medical things? Like, how are you protecting them? Like when your wife goes in to, you know, see a doctor, do you go with her? Or from what we're seeing, everything that we're seeing now, are you more like wanting to, you know, willing to go with her to do, you know, doctor's appointments and stuff like that?
Hey, it's funny. I was just telling my wife. I said, you know, wonder why I go to the doctor's appointments with you. My grandmother that raised me, I would always go to the doctor's appointments with her. So I didn't mind going. I don't mind going. The doctor got an attitude or an asshole, so I'm listening to all this, you know, the commentary y'all saying. The doctor's got an attitude or any of that shit there, I say we can go somewhere else. Like we have a great doctor, sister. She's awesome. So she got ready to leave one place. That's why I happened to have a doctor's appointment. She got ready to leave. I said, hell no. If you don't give me your goddamn number, it's going to be a fight in this bitch. I didn't give a fuck what the copay was where she was going. God damn it, I'm going where you going. Because it's hard to find good-ass doctors that give a fuck about you. You know what I mean? I heard you talking about, you know what I'm saying, your tie rods. That's what I call them, but I know it's tie rods and tie-in.
Okay, I didn't know what you were saying.
Okay. You're like, whatever, you know, hey. So I was on one medication that, she's great at this. I was on one medication. I had went to LA one year. That shit had me dropping weight like I was a goddamn crackhead. I went from like 180 to, by the time I got to LA, I was like 162. I was almost my high school. So she's not one of them people that try to make you take medication. If you say some shit ain't working, you take your word for it. We're going to get something that's going to work. Make sure you're right. I'll tell them what was wrong. And she ain't try to be, you know, trying to argue with you. I've been to some of my shows, just good people. So, you know what I'm saying? So when you get a doctor like that, man, and they ain't just all about the money, they want to see you taking care of yourself, that's a different beast. But I don't mind going to the doctor with my girls. I don't mind at all, because if it's some shit, I'm licensed to carry. I can come in that bitch like Medea. Hey, ain't nobody else gonna be seen in this bitch. I'm just telling you. So, you know, I don't play no games like that, man. You do have some asshole ass doctors out here that you got some motherfuckers that just made C's and D's and barely got by. You know, they don't give a fuck. They just want that check. So once you find somebody that give a damn about you, I would keep going to them. Like I heard the young lady say, hey, her son is 18, so, you know, and hey, stop going to his pediatrician. I'm like, shit, man, it's hard to find them good motherfuckers out here. It is, because everybody about that that extra money. They don't give a fuck about the shit killing you or the side effects and shit like that, fucking up your kidneys and all types of shit, man. So she immediately got me off that medication. I was like, I don't know what the fuck this shit doing, but this is not it. This shit ain't curing shit. I'm up in this motherfucker thinner than a motherfucker. I had to tie my drawers up on the side and shit. They gave me these loose steric ass drawers. I'm like, this shit is not for me. This is some bullshit. So I'm gonna need for some other shit to go down. I'm not supposed to tie my drawers
mostly on me, but y'all gotta see everybody's face just fell out.
Yeah, I'm over this motherfucker. I got some bikini drawers tying them up on the side. I'm like, I'm not supposed to have this much room. No, ma'am. Get me off this bullshit.
God.
Hey, if you gonna just fuck over me like this, just prescribe me some cocaine. Just fuck it. Give me some of the Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston, and I'm good. Give me some Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. It's gonna make me drop weight like this. Give me Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. Give me more Bobby than Whitney, because Bobby outlived Whitney. So I need more Bobby than Whitney. That's what I'm gonna need.
I'm done. Let me go over to Draper because I thought he got a little more sense.
This concludes the Ellis TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to this
for the night.
Thank you, D. Ellis.
To answer your question, it's about, being active and going to those appointments and really asking those questions. It's interesting that, you all talk about that and what happened during some pregnancies and whatnot. So during my wife and I's youngest daughter, she was pregnant, and so we were going to the different doctor. We was going to the doctor, and he ran a test. And he said some things came back that that he thought that the baby wasn't gonna make it. Well, and so he was like, well, we could take care of it right now. And I said, man, hold up. What you mean by take care of it right now? He was like, well, we could take care of it right now because we don't think that the baby's going to make it. If the baby does make it, then the baby's going to have some serious birth defects. And so, my wife is just bawling. Man, she's just bawling. And I'm like, man, I said, man, I don't think, I said, for one, I said, man, if this is true, you don't have any empathy right now. So I'm going to have to ask you to step out the room for the moment. Man, let me talk to my wife, man, and I'll ask you back into the room.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I said, whatever God has for this baby, God's going to have for this baby, but we're not finna to get rid of this baby. We're not finna do that. I said, do you want to go to somebody else and get a second opinion? And she said, yes, I do. So this was I think he was an Arabian guy. And so he was an Arabian guy. And so doctor. And so we said, I called him back into the room. I said, man, we're going to go get a second opinion. So maybe 2 weeks later, we go get a second opinion. This doctor runs the same test and comes back and says, there is nothing wrong with your baby. We don't know what's been going on or what information you got, but there's nothing wrong with your baby. And, thank God my baby is, my daughter is a healthy 7-year-old bubbling first grader running around here. But the second doctor that we went to was a black woman. The second doctor we went to was a black woman. And she had everything that my wife needed to be able to get through that pregnancy. And so I tell that story in the ways of protecting black women. And when it comes to the medical side of it, had I not been there when my wife was with that first doctor, who knows what might have happened. Because my wife, she's emotional, especially when stuff comes, like that. She was pregnant, the hormones are everywhere. There's a lot of stuff going on. So had I not been there, it might have been a different result. Yeah. It might have been a different result. And when we went to the second doctor, and the bedside manners were there, the questions were there. The doctor was asking my wife the questions that she was going to ask, like, hey, are you allergic to this? Do you want this? Do you need this? You know, how was the previous pregnancies? She was asking the questions that was making my wife comfortable to be able to have our baby. And so, you know, we've referred several people to this doctor after we had the child. But I feel men have to be there. I don't care if it's a girlfriend. If you impregnate this woman, you need to be there. You've got to be there. You've got to ask those questions because I think it's, you know, like you all have been saying numerous times, there's too many Black women that are dying, you know, in the hospitals because, you know, they don't have that advocate. They don't have that person, you know. And I don't care what's going on. You've got to figure out how to be there. You've got to figure out how to be there. So I think it's up to men in going to those appointments. Hell, I still go to, you know, if my dad can't make it to one of my mom's appointments, you know, she'll call me and one of my brothers and me and one of my brother, and we'll go. You know, we'll figure it out to where somebody can be there for somebody. You know, so I think it's about being there. And regardless if you hate hospitals, I hate hospitals with a passion. I hate going to the motherfuckers. I do. But if it's me going to protect my wife, my mom, my daughter, then I got to be there.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just y'all's presence. Even if you don't ask any questions, if you just waiting in the lobby, that somebody knows, somebody cares about you, that they're here with you. When people don't see you with somebody, you know, they just like, you know, and just like that doctor, the first one, he could have used that to his advantage for your wife to make a decision in her emotional state. And you were able to say, yo, step out, let me talk to her. If she wouldn't have had you there, she would have been so in an uproar. I mean, I'm sure she would have called you or something like that, but your presence, y'all, the guy's presence, we were talking about all this at work, in the hospital, on the job, in society, y'all's presence means something. You know, if I'm getting cat calls at the pump and then somebody just comes over and finish pumps my gas, they don't even know me, they ain't trying to talk to me, that will eliminate it. You know what I mean? Or be like, you know, y'all's presence, I don't know, it's just so huge that y'all have that, and we can't take that for granted.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing too, because I see like when Black women get into it with, you know, different like men or whatever, like they recording it, but then I see a Black man step in to help her, but she's steady wanting to argue with the guy. If he stepped in to help you, the playing field is even, because the reason why he stepped in, because he sees a man, you know, berating a woman. So let me step in here and advocate for her or whatever, because now you're talking to a man, because you're not about to talk to this sister like this, or you're not about to talk to this woman like this, because you think, you know, because you know you're gonna have the upper hand, you know. And so if he's stepping in, like, let him, you know. But thank y'all so much. I appreciate that. We ran over a lot, but I definitely appreciate y'all for participating in this panel with me. I got I'm glad this show is uncensored, because I would have been hitting the, you know, censor button a lot.
Hey, like you was on goddamn me Family Feud.
Yeah.
In that goddamn puzzle.
Okay.
Hey, I feel like we was on Women Thou Art Loose.
Now tell everybody before we get out of here, I wanted everybody to, you know, give their Instagram, Facebook handles, businesses or whatever. Shemieka, I'm gonna go all around.
I'm gonna give the first one. You can follow me on Instagram at My Salon Hairtopia, and it links to my other businesses on there.
I'm sorry, what's the other business that I like so much?
The cosmetics or the coaching?
No, the cosmetics.
Oh yeah, the cosmetics. That's One Sweet Honey Bee hair care and cosmetics for us.
She has her own hair care line, y'all. Don't be modest, because that's why I'm pretty right now.
Thank you.
Up under this, I'm pretty right now.
She got that Harriet Tubman hat on tonight, though.
I'm sick of you.
Like she about to free 2 more slaves here in a minute.
Mecca, how can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Miss Take, MSMECCAS. My name, Miss Mecca's Take. On Instagram at The Real Miss Mecca on Twitter. Yeah, and then Facebook, I do not have, I do have a page, Miss Mecca's on Facebook. Also, Party Services, which is my catering and business as well, but I'm not on Facebook very much. So Twitter and Instagram are always there, and that's the best place to find me. I look up and be on Facebook, but I show love every time I'm there. So I'm going to be following everybody. I think I already followed one person, I think somebody, but I'm going to go back and get everybody's names to stay in touch with each other and support, because a lot of stuff going on, too much to name.
She sell plates and
for a long
cigarettes.
time, so. I would not sell no plates.
You get some dress and some Salem Light 100.
Then that's one thing, no plates.
You want to do a whole party. You want some cigarettes.
A whole party or a whole
Salem Light
cake
100.
or bartending or something like that. Not no plates, no bags of food, no bags of fruit, no.
And Miss Debra Cole, how can we get in touch with you?
You can follow me on all social media platforms at the number 1 Queen Cole, and I'll follow everybody from the tag that Shalisa put up, and you can follow me at Light the Path Podcast.
All right, and Mr. D. Ellis.
Whoa, they call me D. Ellis, Big Silly, Big Willie. Oh, my bad. Hey, y'all can follow me on Instagram.
You go act right.
D. Ellis ENT. You can follow me on Black Planet also. On
You on Plenty of Fish?
Yeah, on Planet Fish. Now you follow me on Instagram, D. Ellis ENT, Twitter, D. Ellis ENT. My main page on Facebook is full, but I do delete people on their birthdays, so I make room for folks that's on here. Don't worry about it. Got a new, got the ladies' clothing line. I got even better clothes now, the Rack Back clothing. I got D. Ellis Love and Pampering collection with the soaps, lip gloss, and stuff like that, man. It's coming. I got some samples and stuff. That's not with some of my packages. So I was actually doing inventory earlier, and I had took me a nap. So I enjoyed myself. Harriet Tubman. Hey, you hear me? Hey, I put it on. I gotta keep that. I gotta keep that. So I enjoyed myself, Shalisa, straight up. I appreciate you having me on, and the ladies, man. I never stop learning, so I appreciate y'all. You know what I mean? So you probably need to talk about Black men in counseling, make that one of your shows too. You'll start some shit with that one. Real.
I will definitely do that. I'm gonna let you lead that. I'm gonna let you co-host that.
Come on,
just sit back.
Come on, I got you.
And Mr. Draper Wynston.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IamDWinston. I'm on Facebook. You can just look me up, Draper Wynston there. And that's pretty much it.
Why you get sexy saying your shit though? Why you get sexy eyes saying your shit? You know you can find me.
And then he licked his lips.
Then he licked his lips. I'm like, LL Cool Drake. You were like, he looked all in the camera like, you can find me.
It's like a habit. It's like, when
he wiped his jaw.
He got some of your lip gloss.
Hey, he wiped his own jaw. He said, you can find me.
Hey, you better have I ain't do the beard stroke. So, so you can find me.
Hey, yeah, you can find me. Hey, you start doing this like it. Hey, you start throwing them balls, then you start throwing them balls, then you.
Look, now you know we've been on here 3 hours.
Oh, my bad. Hey, this is the longest Baptist service we have had on the Zoom.
So we do need after this. We do need to play after this, though.
Yes. Well, thank y'all so much for coming. I am Shalisa with the Shalisa Experience.
Thank you.
You can find me
Shalisa.
at the
Thank
Shalisa
you so
Experience on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also I'm new to Twitter, so it's the Shalisa XP because they wouldn't put my whole name on there. But I ain't got no followers, so people come on follow me. You know.